We're live, and let's see on the YouTube end. Says it's not connected. Hit refresh. Still not connected. Okay. And we're live. Right? Right? Mic is live. Feeling good. For anyone that saw the previous one, I just want to say that the webcam microphone was connected, but it told me that the normal microphone is connected, and no one in chat thought it was important enough to say that the audio quality was terrible. It was difficult to hear me, and it sounded like I was in a tunnel. So hopefully this time it's a little bit better. This is a redo, specifically because of the audio issues from last week. So sorry to say this is going to be the Lost Millennium one more time. The original Lost Millennium video is going to be lost media. Don't worry, you're not missing anything. I made some factual errors during the course of recording that video. Hopefully going to fix it. Second time's the charm. This is the last set legal in GOAT format. So Cybernetic Revolution's the next set released, and depending on who you ask, all of these cards, including the tournament pack and some of the other exclusive cards that I'm bundling in at the end of the video, should be GOAT legal. So that includes some of the tune support, which personally I think is really important because tunes can function in GOAT format. Heavy asterisk. But I think that it's worth a little bit of theory crafting, maybe one day. First card up is actually the sneak peek preview card that I forgot to add last time, which is my fault. It's Amazoness Chainmaster. Earth attribute, level 4, warrior effect. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can pay 1,500 life points. Look at your opponent's hand, then add one monster from their hand to your hand. 1,500 attack, 1,300 defense. And this card just hits all the best breakpoints. Earth attribute, 1,500 attack, so you can get it out with Rescue Rat. Rescue Rat? With Giant Rat. It's also a warrior, so you can bring it out with Reinforcement of the Army. This is more hand disruption in GOAT format, but it's a +1 hand disruption card, and you don't see a lot of those. It's +1 because, yes, you lose your monster, but then you take a card from your opponent and add it to your hand. So they go -1, and you go net 0. Therefore, it's a +1. This card is fantastic for the time, and it saw a lot of experimentation, not necessarily in Amazoness. I don't think Amazoness become a deck for quite some time. But it's crazy that they get one amazing monster and a few forgettable ones and a few cheesy ones, to be honest. In terms of impact, yeah, this card was meta. It didn't see a lot of adoption, but this is a card that you can put in your toolbox, either your warrior or your giant rat toolbox, and that's really strong. Think about it at this level. Trap Dust Shoot is conditional, sorta does the same thing, but this one gives you a card. Is it a useful monster? Most of the time, yes, because you're not running into a lot of tribute monsters in GOAT format. You're running in, I guess you could run into a chaos monster, but there's a lot of very valuable targets, lots of splashable low-level monsters, and some very juicy heavy hitters that you can hit with Amazoness Chainmaster. I'm so sorry that I forgot this on the first stream. This is the sneak peek for the set. Very strong start. Let's keep it that way. Into the actual Lost Millennium, we start off with Elemental Hero Avian. Wind attribute, level 3, warrior, normal. A winged elemental hero who wields through the sky and manipulates the wind. His signature move, Feather Break, gives villainy a blow from sky high. 1000 attack, 1000 defense. I think all the normal heroes are going to be ranked about the same, that they're acceptable in archetype. I don't think that they're outstanding. It is interesting that you can use this for Rescue Rabbit if you're running Rescue Rabbit in a normal hero-centric fusion deck. Fusion as in fusion mechanic, not your extra deck. I guess your extra deck would also be hero-centric, but it's interesting that this is the direction that they chose to go with fusion monsters, is the flexible fusion materials, where Avian is material for a whole bunch of things. It's Flame Wingman and Tempest and others. It'll come to me. I like the design space a lot, and I think that it's a really cool experimentation and an evolution in where normal monsters were going, but I don't think it's quite enough to make the individual normal monsters playable. Electrum, that's another one that uses Avian. Next up, Elemental Hero Burstinatrix. Fire attribute, level 3, warrior, normal, a flame manipulator who was the first elemental hero woman. Her burst fire burns away villainy. 1200 attack, 800 defense. Similar stat lineup to Avian, actually. A little bit more offensive. Also warrior, rota target, E emergency call target, and Stratos target, and these cards are pretty searchable, to tell the truth. I don't think these are outstanding in the deck, but I think it might be worth considering running the normal monsters in niche applications. Next up, Elemental Hero Clayman. Earth attribute, level 4, warrior, normal. An elemental hero with a clay body built to last. He'll preserve his elemental hero colleagues at any cost. 800 attack, 2000 defense. This is not quite as good as Giant Soldier of Stone, but I like the little play on it. How Yugi got the Giant Soldier of Stone, and then Jaden gets the Elemental Hero Clayman. Giant Soldier of Stone, though, was level 3 and just off the charts in terms of stats on a vanilla monster. But Clayman's not bad. You might even play this guy in GOAT format specifically so that you can get out Thunder Giant. The other material for Thunder Giant is Elemental Hero Sparkman. Light attribute, level 4, warrior, normal. An elemental hero and a warrior of light who proficiently wields many kinds of armaments. His static shockwave cuts off the path of villainy. 1600 attack, 1400 defense. I'm realizing that there's not really a elemental hero beatstick until Stratos. Not that they needed it, but I think it's definitely something that I haven't considered before. 1600 attack is not great, but it's something. Maybe it's even bad. You miss out on Shining Angels since you just missed the 1500 attack cutoff. I don't know. You play this if you want to play Thunder Giant. That's the GOAT interpretation. Later on in the game, you might have some other options. Next up, Wing Karibo. Light attribute, level 1, fairy, effect. If this card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, so by card effect or by battle, for the rest of the turn, you take no battle damage. 300 attack, 200 defense. This card's searchable with Flute of Summoning Karibo, and you can even get it directly on the field, which I think could have a little bit of potential, just having a spell that thins your deck and special summons a monster from deck. Used to be really strong, but now every archetype does that for free. 3 times in one turn. Man, we love power creep. In terms of actual effect though, stunning your opponent, having the Karibo tank the first hit and then being immune to battle damage for the rest of the turn, makes me wonder why you aren't running Negate Attack, or Threatening Roar, or Thunder of Ruler, or Wabaku. There's a lot of battle traps that do about the same thing, but this is on a monster, which I guess has its pros and cons. This can be brought out with Shining Angel, but then it's in attack position, so you're still going to tank a hit. And then at that point, your opponent's already attacked twice. How many more monsters do they have on board? It's got a little bit of synergy with a few fairy decks, maybe? I don't know. Artwork's really cute. I think it's just going to go into either filler outclassed or gimmick. I think it's going to go into gimmick, just because you can play off of Flute of Summoning Karibo with it. Next up, Ancient Gear Golem. Earth attribute, level 8, machine effect. Cannot be special summoned. If this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate any spell or trap cards until the end of the damage step. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. 3,000 attack, 3,000 defense. Really strong stat lineup. The linchpin of this card is that it can't be special summoned though, except for all the cards that can special summon it. A lot of the Ancient Gear support cards actually have ignoring its summoning conditions as part of their card text. I believe Ancient Gear, Ultimate Golem, and Spell Gear are good examples of them. And maybe Statue? There are ways to play around this card not being able to be special summoned. And it has a retrain. Ancient Gears were okay for a bit of a time. I think the card is really cool and people want to use it. I think it's just going to go into acceptable in archetype. If you're playing Ancient Gears, this is an option that you can run. Bit of a cop-out, but that's okay. Next up, Ancient Gear Beast. Earth attribute, level 6, machine effect. Cannot be special summoned. If this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate any spell/trap cards until the end of the damage step. Negate the effects of an opponent's monster destroyed by battle with this card, including in the graveyard. 2,000 attack, 2,000 defense. I think that this card is just bad. It can't be special summoned. Stat lineup's weak. You get a lot of the same utility with Lesser Fiend, and I think that this card's just too restrictive. It is another Ancient Gear. It has that nice Ancient Gear effect, the spell and trap suppression, and I guess monster suppression on top of that. But the big problem with Ancient Gears for most of the game, most because later on there are cards that sort of fix it, is that they're just too hard to get out. They're slow and weaker compared to, like, say, a Monarch, which are in the game. Would you tribute summon Ancient Gear Beast, or would you tribute summon Zaborg? Or Caius? Caius isn't out yet, but Thestalos, Mobius, Grand Marg, all these cards that have instant return. And I just don't think you do. Plus, all those cards you can bring back from grave with, like, Premature Burial. I think the card's just a little bit too weak. Maybe if they had upped it to 2,400 attack, it'd be a little bit more competitive. I guess that would also necessitate 2,400 defense, and that is a lot of stats on a level 6. Hello, Johan? Or Jonah. Wow. Am I dyslexic? Hello, Jonah. I miss old Yu-Gi-Oh! Me too. Next up, Ancient Gear Soldier. Earth attribute, level 4, machine effect. It's got the Ancient Gear effect. If this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate any spell/trap cards until the end of the damage step. And then a measly 1,300 attack, 1,300 defense. And this card was actually meta. You use Ancient Gear Soldier and Ancient Gear Cannon specifically so that you have access to Ancient Gear Drill. Ancient Gear Drill searches for your really strong spell cards in the deck. So you're thinking Limiter Removal, Future Fusion, Overload Fusion. You bring out Chimera Tech, you bring out Gatling Dragon. This is the way that you do it. Well, Ancient Gear Drill is the way that you do it. This is the card that you begrudgingly play in order to get access to that incredible spell searcher. I think that's the only application that the card has had in terms of meta relevance, but it's not bad. I guess you could even bring it out with Giant Rat. Could be useful. Next up, Millennium Scorpion. Earth attribute, level 5, insect effect. Each time this card destroys one monster on your opponent's side of the field by battle and sends it to the graveyard, this card gains 500 attack. Permanently. Starts off with 2,000 attack, 1,800 defense. That stat lineup is not very good. I guess the argument that you can make for Millennium Scorpion is that you have a level 4 monster, you activate Insect Imitation, you bring out Millennium Scorpion, and then you can run over your opponent's monster. And then at that point you have a Summon Skull for next turn. It's not bad, but it is a lot of hoops to get a pretty mediocre monster onto the field. I think we're just going to put it in filler. You can also bring it out with Ninjutsu Art of Transformation. That's another option. There's not a lot of good insect support yet. And even if there were, you're just not running it on Millennium Scorpion. Getting in with battle is just too high of a cost, and then what this card dies to removal gets hit by Smashing Ground. It's just not worth it. Next up, Ultimate Insect level 7. Wind attribute, level 7. Insect. Man, they nailed the name. Effect: if this card was special summoned by the effect of Ultimate Insect level 5, while it remains on the field, all your opponent's monsters lose 700 attack and defense. 2,600 attack, 1,200 defense. I guess if you wanted to read it very generously, it goes up to 3,300 attack after you've taken away that 700. That's not a lot of attack points. This card, if you go from level 1 to 7, is ridiculously bad. I think someone in the previous incarnation of the stream mentioned that Ultimate Insect level 7 might be worse than Great Moth. And I'm not sure if I agree or disagree. You can't even cheat it out with level up. I mean, you're not running level up off of Ultimate Insect level 5, but I think that makes it even funnier. That the card is just not good. You could tribute summon this card if you wanted to, or I guess run Insect Imitation and bring it out as a level 7. there is, I don't know. You might be better off running Great Moth. Hello, Rain McKnight. Glad to hear that the mic is working. Got a new mic. This one lights up when I talk. Next up, we're moving into the rock theme that's placed in the last millennium for some reason. I don't really understand the set design. There's a lot going on, and I guess it's just bits and pieces of everything. There's some cool stuff in it, though. Next up, Lost Guardian. Earth attribute level 4, rock effect. The original defense of this card equals the number of your banished rock type monsters times 700. 100 attack, question mark defense. And I think that this card is just mediocre at best. Ideally, you're setting this and then having your opponent attack into it where they have a big monster and then they take some damage. I don't know. There's better option. You're probably better off with Stone Statue of the Aztecs, which doubles battle damage, or Canyon. The gimmick for this deck, Invincible Fortress, is not good. And I think that everything in the deck suffers from it. Speaking of which, next up, Hyracosphinx. Earth attribute level 6, rock effect. Your opponent cannot select a face-down defense position monster as an attack target. 2400 attack, 1200 defense. So, in the Invincible Fortress, your deck is all about setting things and then having your opponent attack into them. Or alternatively, sometimes it's have high defense and then sword and shield and then hit your opponent for big damage. But ignoring that, big gimmick of the deck is waiting for your opponent to attack into your face downs, and Hyracosphinx is anti-synergy to one of the core tenets of the deck, which is really funny. I like how this card doesn't need problem-solving card text, where, oh no, how are your opponent going to attack if all your monsters are face down? Well, then this effect wouldn't work because this card has to be face up. So, design's nice at least. Attack's not bad, but I think it's just filler. Possibly you could be running this in a stall deck where you have this card and, I don't know, like Messenger of Peace to slow your opponent down and protect your face down so that they can flip multiple times. I don't know. Man, the stuff Konami designed. The stuff Konami design staff was smoking back in the day must have been some good stuff to think this rock theme was worthwhile. Just run the better Sphinx. Yeah, I think Guardian Sphinx is the only good Sphinx if you're ignoring the Pyramid of Light Sphinxes, which are their own sort of thing. They're level 10 beasts, which give them some incidental synergy with Nouvelle, I believe. I don't know if that's good, but I think it's cute. But Guardian Sphinx was actually pretty good. One of the benefits of Guardian Sphinx is it is a Guardian card, so you can bring it out with Arsenal Summoner. Well, you can get it to hand with Arsenal Summoner, but that's neither here nor there. Next Sphinx, Cryosphinx. Earth attribute level 6, rock effect. When a monster is returned from the field to the owner's hand, the owner of the returned monster selects and sends one card in their hand to the graveyard. 1200 attack, 2400 defense. I guess the dream is that you pull this card out with Giant Rat, and then you follow it up with like Compulsory Evacuation Device, and return a card to your opponent's hand, and then they discard it. Maybe you're running Begone Knave, where you can pull multiple cards out of your opponent's hand. I just don't see the synergy. I don't see that there is a big blanket way to keep bouncing cards to your opponent's hand. I think the card is interesting that you can get it off a giant rat. I guess you summon it off of rat, you switch to defense position, and then you start doing it? Isn't Cryosphinx just worse at that than Nightmare Penguin? Ooh, that's true. I don't know. I think the synergy that is trying to enable is not quite there. Next up, Moai Interceptor Cannons. Earth attribute, level 4, rock effect. Once per turn, you can flip this card into face down defense position. 1100 attack, 2000 defense. Usually with that effect, there's a second effect, like when you flip this face up, you get some benefit. But Moai Interceptor Cannons doesn't have that. So your opponent attacks into it, and then you can just flip it back face down so that they can attack into it again. There is like one card in the set that sort of makes sense with this effect, and that's Shifting Shadows, where you get to rearrange your face downs, but that's not very good. It's not a good strategy. The whole deck is like this, and I think it's funny. I think there might be a few decent cards to come out of the Invincible Fortress, but man, not Moai Interceptor Cannons. 2000 defense isn't bad though. I think it's just filler. I think this card's almost a normal monster, and why would you use this effect? Next up, Mega Rock Dragon. Earth attribute, level 7, rock effect. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except by removing from play a rock type monsters in your graveyard. The original attack and defense of this card become the number of rock type monsters you remove from play when you special summon this card times 700. Very specific. It makes sure that you're not counting other rocks that you banished for any other reason. I like that. It's nice specificity, but you gotta keep a mental note because it doesn't keep track of it itself. I think this card's really good, but I don't think it's ever found niche play. That this is a level 7 monster that you special summon from your hand and I guess get access to the rank 7 card pool. There might be a synchro deck that likes the number 7 too. I think this is... I wonder if you play this in Rock Stun just as a beater. That might be an option. I don't know. The card is cool. The card is sort of okay. I think special summoning from hand used to be enough for a card to be worth considering, depending on how difficult the cost was, but now everything special summons from hand, which is a little sad. I wish that there was a niche where Mega Rock Dragon could see play, and I'm sure if you play older formats now, you can find it. But I don't think there's anything on this historical record. Next up, Dummy Golem. Earth attribute, level 2, rock effect. Should be rock flip effect. Flip. Your opponent selects one monster they control. Switch control of the selected monster and this card. So, to clarify, Dummy Golem has to be on the field when the effect activates. So if you attack into the face down Dummy Golem, it goes into the graveyard, the flip effect triggers, it's not on the field, you can't use the effect to take your opponent's monster and then give them the dead Dummy Golem. In order for this card to be useful, you have to flip it up pretty much on your own turn, or maybe with Book of Taiyu or Book of Eclipse. Book of Eclipse might be a little funny because then you could flip it back face down. I don't know. Stat lineup is 800 attack, 800 defense. I think this card suffers from the same effect as Shadow Tamer and Dragon Manipulator, where it's hard to use. The effect isn't as good as like Kisate or Dark Necrofear, where it triggers when it's destroyed by battle and then you get to take something? Oh, I think I'm actually thinking of Brainjacker. There's a lot of cards that are similar to this. I think the card doesn't work the way you think it is, and that's a little bit of a problem. Ooh, History of Jank has a video of a fun Mega Rock Dragon list that was almost viable from GOAT format. Interesting. This is what I mean, that the card is almost playable. I think the problem with Mega Rock Dragon might be that the surrounding rock support is not great. Also, Mega Rock Dragon might suffer from some other problems in GOAT format specifically because Kaiko is such a strong card. Kaiko's running like every competitive GOAT deck. I don't know. Dummy Golem just makes me sad. Next up, Grave Oja. Or maybe Grave Oha? I don't know. Earth Attribute, level 4, Rock effect. While there's a face-down defense position monsters on your side of the field, no player can select this card as an attack target. So it's sort of got the same Hyrule Sphinx effect. Sort of. Each time a monster on your side of the field is flip summoned, inflict 300 damage to your opponent. Actually, it's got the reverse of the Hyrule Sphinx effect now that I think of it. This guy protects itself at the expense of your face-down monsters. So that might be a bit better synergy with the way the deck is functioning. I think this card is recurring burn damage, but thankfully it's limited by the mechanics of the game, where you can only flip a monster face up once per turn, or the one monster flip face up once per turn under normal circumstances. This isn't Shadow Priestess of Ohm, where you just keep special summoning over and over and over again, or Cannon Soldier, or Toon Cannon Soldier. There's a lot of cards like that, where you just don't stop. I think Tribute to Burn is definitely a design mistake, but is Flip to Burn a design mistake? I don't think so. 1600 attack, 1500 defense. Those stats aren't bad. I think it's just filler. Forces you to attack face-down monsters. There's just not a lot of internal synergy. Next up, Mind Golem. Earth Attribute, level 3, Rock effect. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent. 1000 attack, 1900 defense. That's not bad for the defensive, but this monster wants to be destroyed by battle and then has lots of defense? I don't know. I feel like this card's going to be attacked into and then face up on the field, and then it's going to be hit with removal. Like Zaborg, or Smashing Ground, or Fisher. Lots of different ways to remove this for no effect. And it's only 500 points of damage. You might just be better off running Mechadog Marin, which does 1000 points of damage. And I believe it's symmetric when your opponent destroys it by battle and asymmetric when they destroy it by card effect. I think this card's just outclassed by Mechadog Marin. Next up, Monk Fighter. Earth Attribute, level 3, Rock effect. Battle damage to this card's controller from a battle involving this card becomes 0. And it's a good thing. Otherwise, that would really hurt just punching a boulder. 1300 attack, 1000 defense. Maybe we've been looking at this the wrong way, and the actual card, the artwork is featuring the rock that it's being punched, and the rock itself is fighting a monk. Therefore, the rock is a monk fighter. I don't think that that's the intended idea behind the card. I have no idea why this card is rock type. It just confuses me. I guess there's some incidental rock synergy, but man, I think this card would be better as a warrior, and then it'd be outclassed by 2 different Amazonas monsters. This is not the rock that you want to tag into. Legendary Jujutsu Master definitely outclasses this card. The effect is just so marginal. There's a lot of monk support in this set. I think all the monk support in the entire game is in this set, actually. So I'm just going to say it's bad. Stat lineup's not good. But you could use your monk and evolve it into Master Monk. Earth Attribute, level 5, Rock Effect. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except by tributing 1 monk fighter. This card can attack twice during the same turn. 1900 attack, 1000 defense. There's some synergy within this set. Some cards that play into Master Monk's gimmick. I don't know. I don't know why this one's a rock too. It's very confusing. But I do like the artwork that we've seen the monk fighter struggle against the rock and then the Master Monk is just demolishing it. The monk archetype sort of exists where there's references to monk fighter, Master Monk, and Chusuke the mouse fighter, which really should have had archetype inclusion text where it says this card is treated as a monk monster, and then they could have made the monk archetype a thing. Go back and errata the other cards and make them a little clearer would be nice, but I don't know if it's even worth going back to the Lost Millennium at this point. Next up, Guardian Statue. Earth Attribute, level 4, Rock Effect. Once per turn, you can flip this card into face down defense position. When this card is flip summoned, return 1 monster on your opponent's side of the field to the owner's hand. I think the idea for Guardian Statue is that you flip it face up. It even looks like Grave Ojha. You flip it face up, and then when Cryosphinx is on the field, they'll get the monster returned to hand and then send a card from hand to graveyard, which is sorta slow removal. But you gotta ask yourself, is this card better than one of the clowns from Clown Control, which also returns a card to hand? Does it every other turn, but it also has more internal synergy. I guess you could also make the argument that this card is just worse than Swarm of Scarabs, because Swarm of Scarabs can just destroy a monster, and this is an inherently weaker effect. Even if you're looking at that one specific synergy case, I think that this card is just outclassed. It's even outclassed by Medusa Worm. Earth Attribute, level 2, Rock Effect. Once per turn, you can flip this card into face down defense position. When this card is flip summoned, destroy 1 monster on your opponent's side of the field. 500 attack, 600 defense. Those stats are weaker than Swarm of Scarabs, and Swarm of Scarabs you can bring out with Insect Imitation if you really wanted to. I don't know if that's useful, but you get less bang for your buck with the rock type at this point. This card's slow and a little cumbersome. I guess you can bring it off of Giant Rat, flip it back face down during your turn, flip it back face up, get the effect off one time, but then it's stuck in attack position and your opponent's just going to run over it next turn. I think it's just unfortunately filler outclassed. It's one of the better cards in the Invincible Fortress deck, but it's just not enough to matter. So when, in your opinion, does bouncing become better than destruction as a form of removal? Ooh. Comment on Guardian Sphinx. That's a good question. I think really when we get the extra deck coming into play is when bounce becomes better than destruction. Returning an extra deck monster or a tribute summoned monster or a ritual summoned monster, anything that's hard to get out, the harder it is to get out in the first place, the more value that bouncing back to hand does. I think the game being so normal summon centric for, I don't know, ages, means bounce back to hand is just less valuable. That they're using their normal summon on a monster every turn. And I guess this eats up their normal summon, but there's also a lot of cards later in the game that are immune to destruction or get destruction triggers. So returning to hand in that case actually is a benefit. It's a good question. There's definitely times where I would have run Compulsory Evacuation Device over Sakuretsu Armor, or Widespread Ruin, or Treacherous Trap Hole, or there's a lot of different options for just removal in a trap form. Does that make Guardian Sphinx good? No. Because by the time that bounce to hand surpassing destruction, the game's just way too fast for Guardian statue. Next up, DD Survivor. Dark Attribute, level 4, Warrior Effect. During the end phase, if this card was banished while face up on your field this turn, special summon this banished card. This effect can only activate once per turn. That last bit of problem solving card text, the once per turn, helps this card a lot. I mean, otherwise this could have possibly been a Samsara Lotus, where it would just keep coming back over and over again. I think that that's pretty good card design, just being honest. But man, in general, this card's well designed. 1800 attack, 200 defense. Level 4 Warrior gets a little bit of synergy with Rhoda. This card was one option for recurring tribute fodder, especially under Skill Drain, while you're under Dimensional Fissure or Macrocosmos, or Banisher of the Radiance or Banisher of the Light. You could tribute this monster, it comes back at the end of the turn, and then you tribute it again. And you could play an anti-meta version of Monarchs with it. And that deck was meta. So DD Survivor gets meta at one point. Put it about here. Next up, Midshield Gardna. Earth Attribute, level 4. Warrior Effect. Once per turn, you can flip this card into face-down defense position. Another one of those. Negate the activation of any spell card that targets this one face-down monster. At that time, flip this card into face-up defense position. 100 attack, 1800 defense. This is a really interesting effect. Like, the big weakness of set cards is, being hit with removal. Especially Nobleman of Crossout. Nobleman of Crossout is a bit debilitating in GOAT format. It's really sad when your set monster just gets banished and then all copies of it. I think this is a cool little effect, but I'd rather have the full-sized Big Shield Gardna. 2600 defense is just way more defense. And Big Shield Gardna also has the spell effect. Are you ever flipping this guy back face down? I guess you could. For a little bit of value. It doesn't shift itself back into attack position. I think this card is just filler. It's a defensive wall with a tiny bit of protection. DD Survivor is bigger than Treeborg Frog, but with a little bit of extra effort required. I like that observation. Next up, White Ninja. Light Attribute, level 4, Warrior, Flip, Effect, Flip. Destroy one defense position monster. 1500 attack, 800 defense. I don't think you play this as a flip monster. I think the situations are extremely niche where you're going to get value out of setting this card and your opponent having the board state where you get to pop one of your opponent's defense position monsters. I think this card being a ninja and a light attribute makes ninjas a functional engine. Not a deck, but a functional engine in GOAT format, where you can run ninjas and ninjutsu Art of Transformation and then bring out all sorts of fun stuff from the deck. It's a little jank, but I like it. One of the big applications is that White Ninja can bring out Sacred Crane, and Sacred Crane instantly nets you a card, and card advantage is really important in GOAT format. It's jank, but I like it. I think the card is mediocre. It's not as good as Strike Ninja, but you just don't have many ninjas to play with is the problem. Next up, we're starting our Charmers with Asa the Earth Charmer. Earth attribute, level 3, Spellcaster, flip, effect, flip. Target one Earth monster your opponent controls, take control of that target while this card is face up on the field. 500 attack, 1500 defense. We're going to talk about all the Charmers in one block, but I'm going to briefly read through all their effects. Don't worry, if I'm going fast, it's because they're really similar. Next up, Iria the Water Charmer. Water attribute, level 3, Spellcaster, flip, effect. Target one water monster your opponent controls, take control of that target while this card is face up on the field. 500 attack, 1500 defense. Next up, Hita the Fire Charmer. Fire attribute, level 3, Spellcaster, flip, effect, flip. Target one fire monster your opponent controls, take control of that target while this card remains face up on the field. 500 attack, 1500 defense. And finally, Wind the Wind Charmer. Wind attribute, level 3, Spellcaster, flip, effect, flip. Target one wind monster your opponent controls, take control of that target while this card is face up on the field. 500 attack, 1500 defense. I think one problem with the Charmers that might not be obvious is there are many problems with the Charmers, but one problem I think that's not obvious is that they're level 3. If they were level 4, they could have a little bit more defense points and then maybe actually survive a battle and get you to take one of their monsters, but 1500 isn't a lot. If they were level 2, then you could bring them out with Apprentice Magician, face down, and then you could flip them, and I guess you could have a tech option to steal your opponent's monsters. They'd have more initiative that way too. I don't think that that would be a good strategy, especially because a lot of contemporary play is light and dark monsters. I guess there's a decent amount of earth monsters running around, especially a lot of rat toolboxes and some earth beasts running around, so I guess that makes Asa currently the best one. You're not running into wind monsters, you're not running into a lot of fire or water monsters either. Wind's probably the worst, but something like this. I think the Charmers are a cute idea. If they didn't have to remain face up on the field, maybe their effects would be a little stronger. Could you just take control of one of your opponent's monsters that's a specific type? I don't know. Or a specific attribute. When are you playing this? I guess you're playing Charmers when you are playing against one of your friends and you really, really know their deck. Maybe? There's not a lot of application, though. Nice to see you, Maid of Malachite. You are, I don't know, 29 cards into the Lost Millennium. Actually, 30 cards, because we got the sneak peek promo. So, I don't know, about a third of the way through. Overall, I think the Charmers are underwhelming, which is a little sad. They do get to level up and become something later, and that's cool. I think the Lost Millennium was a good time to introduce them into the game. thematically at least. Next up, Batteryman AA. Light attribute, level 3, Thunder effect. If all Batterymen AA you control are in attack position, this card gains 1000 attack for each. If all Batteryman AAs you control are in defense position, this card gains 1000 defense for each. Starts with 0 attack, 0 defense. So, the wombo combo with this card is you special summon out Batteryman A. I guess with Battery Charger is one way that you can special summon it. You can bring it out with Shining Angel. Doesn't really matter. Bring out Batteryman AA, Inferno Reckless Summon, then Short Circuit. Wipe out your opponent's side of the field. You have 3 monsters with 3000 attack, and you just go in for game. That's not bad, but I think it's more of a gimmick than anything. I think that there's a lack of synergy with the Batteryman AA and the rest of the Batteryman archetype, that this card only really synergizes with itself, and that could be a problem. If this card gave all your Batterymen 1000 attack, it'd be way stronger, possibly too strong, just turning things into beat sticks. I do like how this card gets under Gravity Bind for what that's worth. But we get Inferno Reckless Summon next time, I believe. It's in Duelist Pack Jazz, which I think might be blocked in the next stream or the one after it. So this card's going to have a little bit of time in the sun. It'd be neat if there were dual Charmers, where 2 pair up and 1 card covers double the attributes, preferably a common and a rare attribute. Interesting. I think in terms of the Charmer design, it sort of feels like color hosing in Magic the Gathering. There are cards in Magic that just, if you sit down against the right opponent, you win. Choke and Boil are 2 good examples where if you sit next to someone playing blue, they just can't play the game. I don't like color hosing. It just makes the game feel too RNG in one of the worst ways. It's really sad when you sit across from someone and then you just lose because of the deck that they brought in. I'm not sure if the Charmers would reach that level, but right now they feel like that. Where I guess if you're playing one of the video games, the Charmers would be okay. Or when you're playing against someone's deck, you know? They're just really underwhelming at the time. But dual attributes, getting option to cover multiple attributes, that is an interesting idea. Back to Batteryman AA. I think Gimmick is definitely the home for this card. Next up, Death Wombat. Earth attribute, level 3, Beast effect. You take no effect damage. 1600 attack, 300 defense. Almost being able to pull out with Giant Rat, but you can bring this guy out with Rescue Cat. Or you could at the time. Death Wombat is an interesting tech card that saw a lot of meta success. Mostly you saw this card in the side deck, but you saw this card against burn and stall decks, which were running around, and they were a lot of the metagame. This is one of the cards next to like Peruku's Circle of Enchantment and Barrel Behind the Door. There was quite a lot of teching in anti-burn cards because there was just so much burn running around. Mostly Wave Motion Cannon, just building up to one-shot your opponent. And this card stops it. You can also run it in Beast deck because of Rescue Cat, and it's got a little bit of incidental synergy. Card was really good. Does Burn have an out for this card at this point besides Lava Golem? Yeah, that's a good question. In your Burn deck, how do you get rid of Death Wombat? I don't know. In your burn/stall deck, I guess you have to tech in monster removal at that point. Lightning Vortex or Smashing Ground. What's stopping your opponent from just playing Death Wombat, shutting down your strategy, and winning the game? I don't know. Man, if only Wombat had any other purpose beyond countering a gimmick. Are you a big fan of Death Wombat for some reason? 1600 attack, level 3. It is something that you can bring out with Rescue Cat, I guess. Rescue Cat, Mindless Radiant, Last Will, bring out multiple copies, start beating your opponent down with Death Wombat. Card is good, though. I like that this card exists in the game. Later on in the game, we'll get better counterplay to affect damage. We'll get a lot of hand traps, actually, that stop effect damage. And we'll get the cards like Rainbow Life, which is pretty good. But for the time, very valuable. Feels too niche to be useful, and neither fun nor interesting. Ooh. I can definitely agree with those critiques, but in terms of historical gameplay, this card was definitely seen in a lot of side decks. Next up, King of the Skull Servants. Dark Attribute, level 1, Zombie Effect. The original attack of this card is the combined number of King of the Skull Servants and Skull Servant in your graveyard times 1000. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can banish one other King of the Skull Servants or one Skull Servant from your graveyard, special summon this card. Question mark attack, 0 defense. Hey, you can bring this card out back with a Recurring Nightmare. That's cool. This card is pretty much your win condition in Skull Servants. It's not the only one. There's some other ways that you can play around with Skull Servants, but this card gets ridiculously big in a dedicated Skull Servant deck just because there's so many different white cards that treat themselves as Skull Servant in the graveyard. I like how it has self-revival. I wonder if there's a functional deck in GOAT format that's using Card of Safe Return and King of the Skull Servants and maybe some of the other zombie support. I don't know, Book of Life. You don't really have Mizuki yet. Mizuki would make that deck crazy. Mizuki, Goblin Zombie, King of the Skull Servants, Card of Safe Return. That'd be some crazy combo. King of Gimmick. Never tiered, but always fun and rogue. Maybe the archetype that has stayed the most consistent throughout history. Ooh. One of the funniest cards ever, and it only gets funnier with how much support he's been getting. I agree. King of the Gimmick? That sounds perfect. I do want to say that, yes, this card's acceptable in archetype. This card is half the reason you play Skull Servants. The other half is memes, I guess. But the card's cool. I like its design. I like the way that it protects itself. I think that's really cool. How he's on a mountain of other Skull Servants and he's just sacrificing those to bring himself back. I don't know. Next up, Reshef, the Dark Being. Light Attribute, level 8, Fiend Ritual Effect. This card can only be ritual summoned with the ritual spell card, Final Ritual of the Ancients. Once per turn, by discarding one spell card from your hand, take control of one monster on your opponent's side of the field until the end of this turn. 2500 attack, 1500 defense. I think this card is okay. I think turning any spell in your hand into brain control without the life point cost is not that bad. I know brain control is in this set, so that might be a bit of a mark against the card. Stat lineup, I think, is a little underwhelming, too. I feel like it could have been 2,750, 2,800. Just getting Summon Skull stats off of this is not great. The fact that this card is the Dark Being and is Light Attribute bugs me, because then you can't use this card with Contract with the Abyss, so you need to have Final Ritual of the Ancients. I think there is a ritual deck that functions within GOAT format. I think you might be running Reshef the Dark Being, you're probably running Zork, because Zork is actually really strong, and you're probably running Relinquished. But getting the ratios right has been really difficult for me. I like how this guy's level 8. Level 8 might be the key to the deck, because then you can run Berserk Dragon, which is just a big level 8, and you can bring it out with Deal with the Dark Ruler. And Deal with the Dark Ruler's very flexible in its condition. You just have to have a level 8 or higher monster leave the field. Or from the field to the graveyard, I think, is the condition. And that's really easy. When you're running into GOAT format, it's crazy how often they will target your monster with one of their power cards, and then you just hit them with a Deal with the Dark Ruler, and you bring out Berserk Dragon, and then they don't have a response. Does have one of the best artworks of early Yu-Gi-Oh! Boss monsters. I can see that. For sure, I'd hang up a huge card version of him. Yeah, it would be some pretty cool wall art, I guess. I actually like his ritual spell better than the monster, though. Maybe that's just me. I think maybe filler outclassed. Outclassed specifically by Zork, I guess. There's a lot of potential with the ritual summon, and I think someone's going to crack it in GOAT one day. Just, you have 3 monsters that on summon go +1 with Senju, Manju, and Sonic Bird. Then you got additional synergy that you can play with, like Chiron the Mage, discard those spell cards you just brought out with Sonic Bird, and then you have even more additional synergy that you can use Manticore of Darkness on that Sonic Bird and swap it out for a bigger monster. Plus, Manticore of Darkness might be in the graveyard because you used as a ritual summon, but the problem with the ritual summon is you hemorrhage resources. Maybe if we had Ritual Raven in the game, at this point, it'd be a little easier. I know Advanced Ritual Art comes out in a few sets, and that card completely shifts the ritual calculus, but at this time in GOAT format, I don't know. I want to make it work. I've tried it. Maybe that's just a me thing. It's probably a personal problem. Next up, Elemental Mistress Doriado. Light attribute, level 3, spellcaster, ritual effect. This card can only be ritual summoned with the ritual spell card, Doriado's Blessing. The attribute of this card is also treated as wind, water, fire, and earth, while it is face up on the field. 1200 attack, 1400 defense. Low-level ritual monsters really confuse me. I guess that means that you have lots of options to tribute to bring them out. And you could bring out with, like, Sonic Bird, for instance. Interesting. But this card enables Furin Kazan by itself. And Furin Kazan is 4 fantastic effects that you get to choose from. It's basically 4 different cards on the ban list that you get the option between. That is one great gimmick, but that's it. I do like how Elemental Mistress Doriado, because it's treated as all these different attributes, is hard countered by the Charmers. And they're both level 3 too. And you could attack into one of the Charmers with Doriado, and it doesn't have enough attack to break through the defense. Man, this card gets really hard countered by the Charmers. I also like this card theme, that this is an evolution of Doriado, but Doriado is sort of a mistranslation. The Japanese should be translated as Dryad, but it was translated phonetically. But it stuck, and now we got Doriado. Manju, Senju, and Reshef all being light and Relinquished being dark means that they should work in a good Chaos Shell. Uh, the problem I have with running that, I've tried it, is, and it's just one card that really messes with the strategy. Kaiko the Ghost Destroyer is just way too common, and it just shuts down Chaos decks, unfortunately. And you don't really have an out to Kaiko. Is sad. How many times has Ritual in general been close to viable? Well, it was meta at least a couple times during the history of the game. I don't know if you want to count Demise King of Armageddon as meta Rituals. It's more like Demise being good enough on its own. But Rituals were completely meta when we had Necros running around. But you might also say that the Necros Ritual thing was sort of because the Jin releaser of the Rituals was in there and Jin was really strong. I don't know. Necros could definitely hold their own. Furin Kazan is not once per turn. So, yes, you could chain 3 copies of Furin Kazan to Elemental Mistress Doriado and go ham. I guess if you really wanted to, you could then tribute your Elemental Mistress Doriado for Element Burst and take out your opponent's side of the field. I don't know. This card is gimmicky. It's okay. I think we're just going to keep it in gimmick. I can't find a good application for it. And it's still a lot of hoops, too. Next up, Elemental Hero Flame Wingman. Earth Attribute, level 6, Warrior Fusion Effect. Materials are Elemental Hero Avian, Elemental Hero Burstinatrix. Must be fusion summoned. Finally, they got the wording right. They had a lot of trouble with this in the past. Cards like Dark Bolt of the Terrible, a fusion summon must be conducted with the above monsters. Elemental Hero Flame Wingman is different. Finally, they got the wording right. When this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the destroyed monster in the graveyard. 2100 attack, 1200 defense. And of course, you got that Skyscraper synergy so that it could attack over a bigger monster and then deal a lot of damage, but that's set up. I think the card's okay. I think it being overshadowed by the new Flame Wingman is interesting. This card's honestly possibly overshadowed by Phoenix Enforcer too. I think... Would you bring this out in your Elemental Hero deck? Occasionally. I think it's just filler though. Old Yu-Gi-Oh players talk about this guy like he was AA dash Zeus. Never played in his era. Don't understand. I think the attack points are really a sticking point. It's just not enough attack. Next up, Elemental Hero Thunder Giant. Light Attribute, level 6, Warrior Fusion Effect. Materials are Elemental Hero Sparkman, Elemental Hero Clayman. Must be fusion summoned. Once per turn, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 monster on the field with the attack less than the attack of this card. Destroy that target. Starts with 2400 attack, 1500 defense, so Monarch stats. Thunder Giant is great. Thunder Giant crushes Flame Wingman by having extra stats, a better effect, and requiring better material. I gotta agree. It's sad that it's once per turn, but it's probably pretty balanced at being once per turn. Card's really good. I've heard that Elemental Hero Thunder Giant is worth trying to make heroes work in GOAT format, because it's that strong. Personally, a big fan of Thunder Giant. That's good. I am not a big fan of the artwork, so if there's a weird artwork featured in the list, I'm showing off some of the alternate artworks. This one specifically comes from the Yu-Gi-Oh website, and this is the way that they wanted to represent Thunder Giant instead of the far superior one. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. There are a few cards that are like this, like a Card of Sanctity, which is next, that just have weird artwork on the website for some reason. Speaking of which, Card of Sanctity. Normal spell, banish all other cards you control and in your hand. Minimum 1 from each. Draw until you have 2 cards in your hand. That is a lot of cost. So at minimum, you're going -1 to draw those 2 cards. But potentially you could be going much further minus. There are a few cards in the game, I guess like DD Survivor or DD Scout Plane, that when banished would net you some card advantage later. That's okay. There's also one card, what is it, XYZ Revival Splash, I want to say, that when it's banished, you get to bring out a big water monster. That's okay. Card of Sanctity is all in for very marginal payoff. And it's a little funny because this card in the anime was probably the best card in the game. The anime version was both players draw until they have 6 cards in hand. And that card is just not balanced. Can you imagine that? Just draw until you have 6 cards in hand, and then you just use those cards, and your opponent, especially if you had multiple Card of Sanctity in the same turn, because your opponent would only get that 1 card, and you'd get, I don't know, +5. Ooh, got a question. If it banished 1 card from grave, as well as draw an extra card, would it be playable? So I guess it would be banish all cards you control, banish 1 card you control, 1 card in hand, and 1 card in grave, draw 3 cards. That card would be fantastic. I think the big problem with Card of Sanctity is it's all in. Isn't this just worse than Bubble Man? You want both cards when you have nothing else, and Bubble Man is just better. Bubble Man is fantastic. I love Bubble Man. I think Bubble Man's even worth considering now. In certain decks, inherent special summon condition from hand, draws cards. There's a new version of Bubble Man too, the evil hero version. I want to say his name is Toxic Bubble. I think we can all agree Card of Sanctity is just very bad. Next up, Brain Control. And let's go ahead and get it up. There we go. So this card originally reads, pay 800 life points, select 1 face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field, take control of the selected card until the end phase of the turn this card is activated. Normal spell. That's Change of Heart, more or less, but it cost 800 life points. Since then, it's had effect changing errata, and now reads, pay 800 life points, then target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls that can be normal summon / set. Take control of that target until the end phase. So in terms of how bad this card was nerfed, it's not actually that bad. They didn't really bring down the hammer, and it is such a marginal change. I guess the big fear that they were having is that you could link climb with whatever card you took with Brain Control. Say you take a Link 3 and pretty easily go up to a Link 4. That wouldn't be bad. But the fact of the matter is, Change of Heart came off the ban list. So now we have Brain Control, which is already a slightly nerfed version of Change of Heart that's been hit with an additional nerf. This card could have come back at the same time as Change of Heart, and I don't think that it'd be a problem. I think that's a sad more than anything. That brain control is decently balanced. And boy, is this one of those cards in GOAT that you gotta look out for. Not a lot of decks play it, but if you're playing Monarchs and GOAT, then you're playing Brain Control and Soul Exchange, and you're losing your monsters. I think effect changing errata tarnished the legacy of the game. And this is just one that didn't have to happen. I think Sinister Serpent has gotten it worse. But why'd they have to do this to Brain Control? Why'd they have to do this to any card? The errata just says, you can't take a boss monster. I think it's fine without the errata. Yeah, Change of Heart came back. Brain Control could have came back. Next up, Gift of the Martyr. Normal spell. Send one monster you control to the graveyard. Then target one face-up monster you control. It gains attack equal to the original attack of the sent monster until the end of this turn. I think this card is just underwhelming. You're giving up one monster to boost the attack of another monster, and it's not even a quick play spell. Like, if this was a quick play spell, then you'd be able to dodge removal and get at least a little bit of value, or you could attack with that monster and then send it to graveyard. It doesn't even tribute and it doesn't destroy. Very important wording. And then push a little bit more damage. But right now this card is outclassed by Ryoku. Well, one, you could take your opponent's attack, but two, you didn't have to give up a monster. This is just -2. And it's not great value. Artwork's cool, though. Given Monk Fighter the strength of Duname's Dark Witch, I guess. What would that be? 3,100 attack? You don't really benefit from Monk Fighter's effect, though. Good artwork. I don't know what this means for the lore. If it also gained the effects of the sent monster, then maybe it would be playable. As of now, it does almost nothing. I agree. I think you might be better off running Mystic Walk, for instance. At least that gave you some life points. I think it's safe to say very bad. Next up, Double Attack. Normal spell, discard one monster card from your hand to the graveyard. Select one monster on your side of the field with a lower level than the discarded monster. The selected monster can attack twice this turn. Gift of the Martyr being a quick play spell, then maybe. I can see it being a little bit better as a quick play. I think Double Attack is an interesting card from a design perspective, because this is a really hard effect to balance. Getting a second attack on a monster can be devastating. Can you imagine a Blue Eyes that can attack twice? We actually see a Blue Eyes that can attack twice with Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning, but it can only attack, monster to monster. It can't make two direct attacks. I think if Double Attack prevented attacking directly and said 2 attacks on monsters this turn, then it wouldn't need the discard cost. But right now, the discard is really expensive. It's got to be a monster and a monster of higher level, which is really sad. I think this is an example of Konami being aware of how strong an effect would be, and then overcorrecting to try to prevent it. Would Double Attack stack with something like BLS's effect, or is it still just attacking twice? That is interesting. I don't even know how that works. Would Double Attack trigger first, and then you would get an additional attack after that? This card might not even work properly with certain monsters. Would be cool if it was a monster of the same level. I don't think that saves the card. I mean, it makes it a little bit better. I think the discard cost in general is unnecessary. I think right now it's just bad. And of all the cards to use it on, you used it on a Marauding Captain? Why? Next up, Battery Charger. Pay 500 life points, special summon one Battery Man monster from your graveyard. I know we all have Monster Reborn now, but back in the day, where you had effects like this, just special summoning one of your archetype monsters from grave is pretty strong. I don't know if Batteryman ever rose to the rank of meta. I know that when Industrial Strength came out, it was definitely a fun rogue deck that you could play, but I can't think of a time where Batterymen were a dominant force in the metagame. I guess that's where the home of acceptable and archetype is. If you want to play this deck, this is a card you play. Yeah. Yes, indeed, this is the Lost Millennium. So we are halfway through reviewing the Lost Millennium cards. They always lurked around the edges with Industrial Strength. There's some other really decent Batteryman cards. I think Short Circuit, elevating the deck. I think it's an all-in deck. And that's part of the problem. It doesn't have a lot of recovery. It has a lot of really slow cards like Microcell. I don't know. Can we make Batteryman work? That's a good question. It's got a lot of good support, though. It can tap into that Thunder support. You got Thunder Seahorse and Hunders. Oh, Fuel Cell is great, too. That is a good point. But yeah, I think you run Batteryman. You run Battery Charger in your battery deck. Next up, Kami no Te Blow. Normal spell. Activate only if there is at least one face-up Chusuke the Mouse Fighter, Monk Fighter, or Master Monk on your side of the field. Destroy that monster. Destroy the monsters that battled with these monsters on your side of the field this turn at the end of the damage step. This is one card in the ultimate combo, if you want to call it, the Monk Dream combo. So right now, you take no damage if you're using Monk Fighter. You get a second attack if you're using Master Monk. And you get nothing if you're running Chusuke the Mouse Fighter. Just normal monster there. Anything that you hit with your monks is going to be destroyed. Okay? But you still take the damage. Next up, Doriato's Blessing. This card is used to ritual summon Elemental Mistress Doriato. You must also tribute monsters whose total level equals 3 or more from your field or your hand. I think we're just going to put it right next to Doriato. I think it's fair to put ritual spells right next to their ritual monster, so whatever rank it achieved. Speaking of which, Final Ritual of the Ancients. This card is used to ritual summon Reshef the Dark Being. You must also tribute monsters whose total level equals 8 or more from your field or your hand. And you basically can't play the rituals without the spell. Until we get Advanced Ritual Art and a few other cards, actually. Ritual Foregone's really interesting, since it ignores conditions. Next up, Legendary Black Belt. Equip spell. Equip only to Chusuke the Mouse Fighter, Monk Fighter, or Master Monk. When the equipped monster destroys your opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the defense of the destroyed monster. Okay. Our combo is starting to accumulate, I guess. So far, if you're following at home, you need Monk Fighter or Master Monk, or I guess Chusuke. You need Kaminote Blow, and now you need this equip spell. So you're at 3 cards, maybe 4 if you're using Master Monk. And it's only getting more complex. In terms of the actual effect, if this card just existed, this isn't a bad effect. It's sort of like Flame Wingman. Actually, it's sort of like, I want to say Andrew Spinks has a similar effect. A little bit of chip damage. I can see with Kaminote Blow, you attack into the defense position monster. It gets destroyed. But then Legendary Black Belt doesn't actually synergize with that card because you have to destroy it by battle. Okay, so I guess this card synergizes with Master Monk, where you attack multiple things and then you do a little bit of burn damage for each. I don't know. This card's really important for lore, though. Keep it in mind. But I think it goes next to Kaminote Blow. Put the monk cards together. Next up, Nitro Unit. Equip spell. Equip only to a monster on your opponent's side of the field. When the equipped monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the equipped monster. Very similar to Legendary Black Belt, actually. It's interesting that these cards are next together. And Flame Wingman on the same set. I guess the idea is you're going to be running into your opponent's monsters anyway. You might as well do some burn damage. And then I guess you're comparing this card to like Magic Cylinder at that point. Is it better to negate an attack? Probably. Does the same amount of damage, but I don't know. You're running over their monster, so I guess their monster is being destroyed. Nitro Unit was pretty dope back in the day? Interesting. Very win more, I agree with that. If you're in a good position, this makes your position a little bit better. But if you're behind, it does nothing. I think this card being searchable does improve it a little bit. You got Iron Blacksmith Kotetsu, and the game is slow enough that you can get off a flip effect monster to search for this if you wanted to. But at that point, you got much better targets. You got Snatch Steal, Premature Burial, and then some niche ones like Ebikyo Drakmord or Flint, which can self-recycle themselves and stun your opponent a little bit. Not bad. I just don't think that you're dedicating your very valuable equipped searcher to Nitro Unit if you don't have to. Okay. Renegade Striker 7. Mind you, I was only playing versus my nephew, so there's a bit of a bias towards Nitro Unit being great. I think the card's just bad, unfortunately. Maybe if you wanted to be generous, it'd be filler. The lore is cool. The idea is cool, at least. Next up, Shifting Shadows. Continuous spell. Once per turn, by paying 300 life points, rearrange the face-down defense position monsters on your side of the field, then return them in face-down defense position. And functionally, I think this card is a little bit weird. Like, thinking about it for a second, do you ask your opponent, just close your eyes for a second, let me shift the shadows and mess with my face downs? Do you take them and shuffle them behind your back and then put them back face down? How do you do this card effect in paper? I think this card was maybe not thought about, really. In online or the simulator, this is no problem, because you can actually randomize and your opponent not have the information. But in paper, or in a tournament, do you call a judge over, hey judge, can you take my face downs and rearrange them? I don't know. I don't think that that's a design mistake. I just think it's a little bit funny. In terms of the actual effect, well, first, actually, the cost. Once per turn, I guess there's a situation where you'd want to use it multiple times. I don't know. And it costs 300 life points, which is nothing. Or I guess about nothing. And then the actual benefit to you is they might attack into something that they weren't planning on attacking into, assuming that they know what your face downs are already. I guess you can run this with Moai interceptor cannons, flip your Moai back face down, and aha, you attacked into my big wall once again. Made of Malachite. I think it should just say you can redirect targeting while you control multiple face downs. Oh, you could, so there's a card called Patrician of Darkness. It's a zombie monster, 2000 attack, and you get to control your opponent's attacks. That would be pretty okay. I guess this card is, I don't know. I just don't see it being useful. I was about to say okay, but it's really not. Didn't we already have magical hats? Minigames have ambiguous randomize. They probably just figured players could settle on something themselves. Yeah. Shifting Shadows was in the Exod defense deck, and boy, thank you, Yugi. The Exod defense deck is the worst structure deck, I guess. Ooh. Maybe if Shifting Shadows also lets you pick targets for effects, or pick the targets for effects. I don't know. I think this card needs work. I think it's really sad. And right now it's just completely useless. Even if this were a skill card, like in a video game, think it's Duel Links or something, against an NPC having this card, so they don't even have to dedicate a card in their deck to it, and we'll make it free, I still think that the effect is almost useless. Next up, Impenetrable Formation. Continuous spell. Select one monster on your side of the field to activate this card. While you have 2 or more monsters on your side of the field, all monsters on your side of the field and all monsters on your side of the field are in defense position, the selected monster gains 700 defense. When the selected monster is removed from the field, destroy this card. At least this doesn't take your monster with it. It could be even worse, where if this card is destroyed, destroy the selected monster. This effect is just so underwhelming. So you need at least 2 monsters, and then the big benefit to that is that one monster gains 700 defense. And meanwhile, we have the Reliable Guardian, which does about the same thing, but can surprise your opponent since it's a quick play spell, and doesn't self-destruct. I think this card is trash. It could have been a lot stronger. I guess if they raised their shields in the Tustido formation, it'd be a little bit stronger. Give it like 2,000 extra defense, and then it'd be a serious wall. But right now it's just underwhelming. Why couldn't it boost the defense of all your monsters? Ooh, that'd be a little bit better. Still not good, but a little bit better at least. Yeah, lots of defense cards in this set. When is Konami going to learn? The Lost Millennium for a reason, man. Next up, Hero Signal. When a monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, special summon 1 level 4 or lower elemental hero monster from your hand or deck. This card's pretty good. There was a question last time that was Hero Signal used in Airblade Turbo? And I couldn't find any examples of it. I looked at a lot of different decks, and I couldn't find Hero Signal. But the idea of using Hero Signal to bring out Stratos is not a bad idea. I think that this has niche application. It's a little bit better than acceptable in archetype, but I guess that's where it's got to be. Maybe if we're generous, we'll actually put it in good on release. I think that's fair. The effect's pretty okay. It's a nice search card, gives you a little bit of field presence, but the condition is a little hard. I think it'd be even better if it was a hero monster in general, but we get D signals, so I guess. I don't know if Evil Hero's got a version of this card. Hero Signal is good for the archetype. Granted, nowadays it's slow and depends on being destroyed by battle. Yeah, but at the time of release, that's not bad. Next up, Peruku's Second Sight. Until your opponent's end phase, your opponent shows you all cards that they draw before adding them to their hand. This is such a weak effect. It is a tiny bit of information on your opponent's cards in hand. You're better off playing Respect Play, Eye of Truth, or Convulsion of Nature, because Convulsion of Nature would just flip their deck faces down, or face up, flip their deck over, and then you'd get to see every card that they draw until Convulsion of Nature is destroyed. Plus, Convulsion of Nature actually synergizes with Archfiend's Oath. Because you can see the top card of your deck, you declare that name, and then you get to draw a free card. That's really good. Peruku's Second Sight, though, very marginal benefit, and you're giving up a card for information. This isn't like Time Seal where you're giving up a card and your opponent is giving up a card. This is just losing card advantage for a tiny bit of information. Possibly you could say that this card is worse than the Inexperienced Spy because it's so much slower. I just can't see it being useful. Artwork's cool though. So far, Peruku, your Circle of Enchantment has been your only good card. Next up, Minefield Eruption. Inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent for each face-up Mine Golem on your side of the field. After that, destroy all face-up Mine Golems on your side of the field. Why is there that second part? I don't understand why this card needed to be balanced. I think one trap dealing 3,000 damage to your opponent after a lot of setup wouldn't be that bad. I mean, it'd be strong. This card has the same ceiling as like a good Chain Strike. But that last part of the text, destroy all your Mine Golems, that's really bad. And then your Mine Golems don't even trigger after the Minefield Eruption. If Mine Golem got its effect when it was just destroyed, then you'd be dealing another 1,500 damage, and that'd be 4,500 damage off of 4 cards, 3 of which are monsters on the field. Honestly, that's not a good ratio, but at least it would make sense. It would have justified the high defense on Mine Golem without that last line. So at best, 3,000 damage, but you lose your whole board. Yep. The ceiling's just not there. Next up, Kozaki's Self-Destruct button. Normal trap. Inflict 1,000 damage to the player who destroyed this set card. I guess if you Heavy Storm, you could deal 1,000 damage to yourself. Or... I don't think that that's the intended mode to play. This card is really weird in that you can't activate it on your own. So you just set this card and wait. And I don't know, your opponent just hits it with the Mystical Space Typhoon. They end up going 1-for-1, but then take 1,000 damage. I think if this were just a trap version of Meteor of Destruction that did 1,000 damage and maybe had a slightly difficult condition, it still wouldn't be useful. 1,000 damage off of one card is okay. But you're still losing card advantage for no reason. This isn't exactly Waking the Dragon. Exactly. Waking the Dragon is pretty decent payoff. I think this card is honestly worse than Dark Coffin, which is another card that you had to set and then wait for your opponent to destroy. But Dark Coffin gave you two different options, and each one was okay. At least it's better than the other self-destruct button. That one is game-breaking. Next up, Mispolymerization. Normal trap. Activate only when a fusion monster is special summoned. Return all face-up fusion monsters to their respective fusion decks. Very interesting. I guess this is another example of when bounce is better than destroy, because then they wouldn't trigger. I like this idea. I think that this is a really cool tech card that never really saw enough experimentation. Do you run this against hero fusion decks? Maybe. Do you run this against Shadal's? Maybe. It's not a bad tech card, but in terms of fusion hate, you also have non-fusion area, which just removes the entire ability to fusion summon. Would you rather bounce the fusions that they got on field, or would you rather stop it completely? And it's only a one-time use. I think it's a good idea, executed pretty well, but still not a good card. It's just too niche. Trap version of Defusion? No, it's better than Defusion. No, it's worse than Defusion. I don't know. I'll think about that. It's a fusion version of Ritual Sealing? I think I'm just underwhelmed by it. You run Mispolymerization, or would you run like one of the Trap Hole variants that can hit a fusion monster? You'd probably run a Trap Hole variant. Next up, Level Conversion Lab. This card is actually real important for the lore. This is, let me say it correctly, Gagigo being converted to Gigagagigo by Kozaki in the Dark World. Really cool artwork. The effect is okay, I guess. Select one monster in your hand and show it to your opponent. Great start. Then roll a 6-sided die. If the result is 1, send the selected monster to the graveyard. Why? I don't understand that, but I'm going to keep going. If the result is 2 through 6, the level of the selected monster becomes equal to the result until the end of this turn. I just don't understand why this has a 1 in 6 critical failure chance, where you just lose your monster, so you go -2 for no reason. But the possible upside for this card, I guess, think about a card like Ancient Gear Golem. And best case scenario, you're normal summoning Ancient Gear Golem without a tribute. Second base scenario, you're tributing one monster for it. Those are okay. But at that point, you might be better off running Cost Down, which is guaranteed, hits everything in your hand, but does cost a card. I don't know. Cost Down's also faster. Because it's Kozaki, have you seen his code? It's fitting for the lore since Goga Giga Gaga Gigo did in fact turn out poorly, so the fail chance seems thematic. Yeah. More expensive or less convenient cost down, I guess. I think the card's just really bad. Ideally, you're cheating out a monster. Certain breakpoints, this card would be better. I don't know. It is interesting that Giga Gaga Gigo. Giga Gaga Gigo is so hard to say. The level 5 one can be cheated out with the legendary ocean, and that's pretty strong actually. But I don't know. I think this card just doesn't do enough. Just critical failure for no reason. Next up, Rock Bombardment. Send one rock monster from your deck to the graveyard. Inflict 500 damage to your opponent. I think this card is right next to Mega Rock Dragon in terms of playability. This card is sort of Foolish Burial, but only for rocks. And then you get a free Hunotama on top of it. It is a trap, so it's slow, a little bulky, a little cumbersome. But there are a lot of good rock monsters that like to be in the graveyard. Some, I want to say Dawnbreak Gardena, will trigger when sent from the deck to the graveyard and immediately bring itself out. Or it might be Revival Golem that I'm thinking of. That's not bad. Turning a trap into a special summon from deck. I like the card, I just don't think it quite hit its stride in terms of a competitive rock deck playing it. Foolish Burial is not out yet, so this card does predate Foolish Burial. That is a very good point. Literally Foolish with Burn. I guess not a lot of good Yu-Gi-Oh! Rocks, a lot of good graveyard rocks are out yet, but it's neat. Yeah, I think it's neat. I think it's cool for the lore too. We had Royal Decree, then we have Rock Bombardment, and then we have Royal Surrender. Cool. Tackle Crusader and Revival Golem are the best options. Thank you. It is one of the best artworks. Yeah, I can agree with that. Next up, Grave Lure. Normal trap. Turn the top card of your opponent's deck face up. Then your opponent shuffles their deck. When your opponent draws the face-up card, immediately send it to the graveyard. This card is weird for no reason. I don't understand why it's so slow that it requires your opponent to, one, not cheat. They can't just shuffle their deck until the face-down card or the face-up card is at the bottom. I don't know if there's a rule against that, but it's sort of the same problem with Parasite Parasite, where they know where it is in the deck and they are supposed to pretend that they don't. It's fine in digital, but in paper, this card's a little weird, especially if you're using different sleeves. But the actual effect, though, this is drop off, but really, really, really slow. Potentially, this could be like 20 rounds before this card does anything. I think this card is useless. There's a card in the previous set, Simultaneous Loss, that just mills the top card of both players' decks. This card is worse than Simultaneous Loss, and Simultaneous Loss is useless. Next up, Token Feast Evil. Normal trap. When a tokens is special summoned, destroy as many tokens as possible on the field. And if you do, inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each token destroyed. Ideally, this card should come out at the perfect time. We're still in goat control in terms of the metagame, and Scapegoat's running around. Deal 1200 damage to your opponent, wipe out their field, they can't summon on the same turn they activate Scapegoat. Not bad. I just think that this card's a little bit too narrow. There's not a lot of good token spam in the game. There's more tokens later in the game, especially with Adventure. But in terms of actual token anti-support, we get Token Collector later, and Token Collector is way faster and stronger. Kind of like Token Thanksgiving, but for burn damage? Yeah. Ah, the predecessor of Token Collector. Yep. I think the card just is too niche. I guess it goes right next to Mispolymerization in terms of effect and impact. Next up, Spell Stopping Statute. Counter Trap. Activate only when your opponent activates a continuous spell card. Negate the activation and the effect of that card and destroy it. This is not that bad of an effect, especially when we get counter fairies in a couple sets. This is 1-for-1 negation, but it's pretty narrow is the problem. I can't think of a lot of decks that hinge their playability on continuous spell cards. I mean, there's a lot of okay to decent continuous spells in the game. I'm not arguing that point. But when would you ever use this card against Fire Fist, I guess, where they have continuous spells? No, not really. What is even the best continuous spell at this point in the game? That's a good question. What are the good continuous spells at this point, I guess, is the question. I guess you got Ectoplasmator or Ectoplasmer. Lighten the Load's pretty good. I don't think there's a good target. When would you ever side this in over MST? I guess the fact that MST is at 1 makes this card a little bit more playable too. I think it just gets normal bad though. Next up, Royal Surrender. Counter Trap. Activate only when your opponent activates a continuous trap card. Negate the activation and the effect of that card and destroy it. This card is great for flavor. So obviously Royal Surrender counters Royal Decree. It's a counter trap, so it's fast enough. And it specifically negates continuous trap cards. Great, fantastic lore. But I guess the question again becomes, what continuous trap cards are even in the game that are okay? I guess you saw Nightmare Wheel seeing an okay amount of play in the game. I don't know. Royal Decree is in the game, but I think it just lives next to the Spell Stopping Statute. Skill Drain. Ooh, Skill Drain's a good option. Skill Drain's annoying. I wouldn't say it's game breaking, but it's definitely something that you could negate. Call of the Haunted. I guess you could stop your opponent's Call of the Haunted. Not a lot of targets. Or not a lot of, outstanding targets. I guess you could counter Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf, continuous trap. Activate only if the one and only monster on your side of the field is Chusuke the Mouse Fighter, Monk Fighter, or Master Monk. That monster cannot be destroyed by battle, and is unaffected by any of your opponent's monster effects. So, your combo assembled finally. You protect your monk with Lone Wolf. It's the only thing on your field. It can attack multiple times if it's Master Monk. You're dealing a little bit of chip damage to your opponent with the legendary Black Belt, and you're hitting through their defenses with common no-tape blow. But those two don't synergize together. Interesting point about Lone Wolf I saw brought up is that this card makes the set bad for drafting because there's not really a way to remove it once it's on the field. I guess you could stop it with Royal Surrender, but There's not spell and trap removal in this set. So if you get Lone Wolf out, then you have, Monk Fighter that can't be destroyed by battle. Or Master Monk that can't be destroyed by battle. Chusuke is not in this set for drafting, but I don't think, outside of battle packs, any Yu-Gi-Oh sets have been evaluated for the draft potential. This card's not good. And we'll put it next to the other Monk cards. I guess against Floodgates, like Level Limit Area B or Messenger of Peace. Interesting. Spell Stopping Statute could stop either of those. That's true. Those are pretty oppressive cards. I can agree with that. Okay, finally we're getting into some good stuff. Next up, Tune Table of Contents. Normal spell, add 1 tune card from your deck to your hand. This card can search itself. This card is not once per turn. This is the best search card in the game. Sort of. It's really easy to go Tune Table, Tune Table, Tune Table, Tune World. You've just decked then for 3 cards, activated 4 spells if you go off on the Tune World, which means you can get 4 spell counters for free. But I think this card is actually really important if you want to play tunes in GOAT format, because it's hard to get to Tune World otherwise. I think the strategy in your GOAT deck is not Tune Table, Tune Table, Tune Table. Is Tune Table, Tune World, and then you have enough tunes in the deck that you can just start summoning them out. Probably want to have a little bit of protection in the form of Skill Drain. You're in a slower deck and your tunes can't attack, but Skill Drain would make them faster. Or you could have the other direction where you're using Soul Exchange and start tributing your opponent's monsters to bring out your tune monsters. Especially since we get Tune Cannon Soldier, where Steal and Tribute is a pretty decent idea. Soul Exchange skipping your battle phase, not a problem, because you're skipping your battle phase anyway, because you're running tunes. I see the synergy. I think that this card is really important if you want to try to make tunes work. I think this is not the standard for search, as Yugi says. I think this is the gold standard, or the high watermark. I don't think that there's ever going to be another Tune Table of Contents in the game. Borderline, you could say that this is a design mistake, but I think the card's just great. It's amazing that with all the setup for monks, it still falls flat to Defense Moai Interceptor Cannon. That is fantastic. But you could attack into it and then common no blow. I don't know. That's just funny. But yeah, Tune Table. Acceptable in Archetype. I think this is the reason why tunes are elevated like an entire tier of play. And I want to see them as a rogue deck within GOAT format. Probably a personal problem again, though. Next tune is Tune Cannon Soldier. Dark Attribute, level 4, cannot attack the turn it's summoned. If Tune World is on your side of the field, if Tune World on the field is destroyed, destroy this card. Woo. While you control Tune World and your opponent controls no tune monsters, this card can attack your opponent directly. That's okay. Then the important part, you can tribute 1 monster, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. This is Tribute to Burn, and now it's searchable with Tune Table. So you could run 6 effective copies of this card in your deck. This card is dangerous. Any loop that you have in the deck that can special summon, or even, not necessarily even an infinite loop, cards like Substitute and Ronin Totem, you just thin through your entire deck and then just pop, 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 Tribute to Burn, and burn out your opponent. Searchable design mistake. Yeah, how exciting. I think this card got banned in the OCG for a while, but I don't think the TCG ever got to that point. I do want to say that there is a constructive use for Tune Cannon Soldier. One, It's got 1400 attack, so you could actually bring it out with Mystic Tomato. And then you don't really worry about the not attacking the turn it's summoned because it came out during your opponent's turn. Not bad. 2, Brain Control and Soul Exchange exist in GOAT format. So taking your opponent's monster or just tributing it for your Soul Exchange means that you have an out to your monsters. I guess you could also share the pain if you really wanted to. But having a sack outlet, you Brain Control, you attack with their monster, and then you tribute it off with your Toon Cannon Soldier. That's not bad. It also gets around things that you might not want to destroy. I see this card as playable, but it's also very degenerate. Contemporarily, we have Demok and Spell Economics and Dimension Fusion, plus Toon Cannon Soldier or the normal Cannon Soldier, results in an FTK deck. So, this card was a problem since day one. It's a ticking time bomb. This card's going to be banned one day, I know it. But I think it has a constructive application, and that's how I'm using it. Tomato. Next up, Restructor Revolution. Such a weird card name. Normal spell, inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent's life points for each card in the opponent's hand. So, you go first, you activate Restructor Revolution, and it's a Meteor of Destruction. Or, you could go first and activate Meteor of Destruction, and it's a Meteor of Destruction. I think this card being sort of like Secret Barrel or Desk Koala is interesting, but I think this card falls off really, really fast. One day, only the Cannon Soldier number 2 will remain. Yeah, Cannon Soldier Mark II, still not great. But it's better. Cannon Soldier are banned in the OCG. Yep. They even got the Mark II. Oh, good. In terms of Restructor Revolution, this card just falls off too quickly for me. Turns into a Hinotama, turns into a Sparks if the game runs long enough. Neither of those cards are good. At best, 1,000 damage. Actually, it goes down incremental and starts as a Meteor of Destruction. Then they lose a card, then it turns into a new Kazi. Then they lose a card, turns into a Final Flame. Then they lose a card, and I don't know if there's a card that does 400 points of damage. They lose another card, and then deals 200 points like Sparks. That's funny. Final Flame, Ukazi, Meteor of Destruction. I think it's just bad. You got better burn options. Why not just run Stealth Bird? Recurring burn damage. Why not run Wave Motion Cannon? Do a lot of big chunk of burn damage all at the same time. Why not run Magic Cylinder? Get stronger the more attack they have. There are better options. We got the ultimate win condition is Restructor Revolution plus Hero's Shadow Scout equals win. Oh yeah. Make your opponent draw many cards. That's the strategy. Okay, there might actually be an FTK if you can get your opponent to draw enough cards and then trigger Restructor Revolution. They'd have to literally draw every card in their 40 card deck though. No, they don't. I can't do math. Oh, yeah, they do. They do have to draw every card. I don't know. If there's a loop that makes your opponent just draw... I don't know. Maybe the card is degenerate in that circumstance. How do we make my opponent draw 40 cards in one turn? Next up, Fusion Sage. Normal spell, Add 1 polymerization from your deck to your hand. Arguably, this card's already redundant since we have King of the Swamp, which discards itself and then adds a polymerization, plus functions as the other fusion material. On the other hand, Fusion Sage is a spell card, so you can get more spell counters. That's not bad. On the other hand, King of the Swamp is a debris dragon target, so you could bring it back and then make your level 7 synchro, probably your Black Rose Dragon, wipe the field. That's pretty good. I can see Fusion Sage seeing a little bit of utility. I do want to note that this card can also search out Fusion Substitute, because Fusion Substitute just treats itself as polymerization, and that's a better combo. I think in terms of deck thinning, this card might be worth considering today in very niche circumstances. Oh. We got a bit of a logic problem from Portal Gamer. If we cause our opponent to draw 40 cards, then they'll just lose next turn anyway, because they'll be unable to draw cards. Oh man. Is Poly the most searchable card in Yu-Gi-Oh? Anything else even come close? Yeah, polymerization is definitely the most searchable card. There's a lot of ways to not only search it, but recur it too. I think Fusion Sage is an okay option for that. Thankfully, we get to redo this card, Archfiend Marmot of Nefariousness, because I made a critical error in overlooking how good this card was in an extremely small niche. So Earth Attribute, level 2, Beast. An air marmot that has a nefarious horn and wings. It attacks by throwing acorns. 400 attack, 600 defense. This card is bizarre in the fact that it's an Archfiend. That's good. I'm glad they got the archetype inclusion text correct. This card is actually an Archfiend. It's not one of those cards that says it is, but it isn't really. It's a beast, and it's level 2. And those 3 attributes come together in a very interesting way. This card can be searched by Rescue Cat. So you bring it out, and then it functions as an Archfiend monster. So you can activate Falling Down. The level is actually pretty important too. It's level 2. So it's one of the pieces that you could do to bring out a level 7 synchro. And the level 7 synchro of choice is Power Tool Dragon. Power Tool Dragon can then be used to search out different dimension reincarnation and Falling Down of all things. The deck that uses this combo is called Equip Cat, and it was an interesting option while Synchro Cat was running around. I'm not saying it's a good use. There's some other fringe applications for cards in the future that I'm glad I read about. But I think that this card having a little bit of utility just because it has this particular name and typing and level is amazing. It's sort of like Dippity being just the perfect card when it came out, because it's normal monster and light and fiend. It's just perfect to me. It's definitely a gimmick, but you build an entire deck around it. Is Equip Cat Edison viable? That's a good question. I think so. Don't quote me on that. But I think it's cool. I don't think that this card was meta, but I think it's like just cool enough. I'm so sad I underrated it. I saw the potential. Someone pointed out Falling Down last time, but man, did I not have that stroke of genius inspiration necessary to put all the pieces together and make Equip Cat. Next up, Sleeping Lion. Earth attribute, level 4, Beast. A ferocious animal that sleeps all day. Sometimes, it's better to let sleeping lions lie. 700 attack, 1700 defense. I think the card's just bad. It's weird. We got Mystic Elf, 800 attack, 2000 defense, same level 4. I don't know. It's a beast, I guess. This guy's a funny floodgate now, or at least his retrain is. I agree. It's very weird what retrains they choose. They choose super old cards, like normal monsters, like Tau the Enchanter got a retrain, even though the card never got an English printing, which is really weird. Next up, Nekogal number 1. Earth attribute, level 3, Beast. This card has had errata specifically to its flavor text. I don't know if this is the only example in the game, but it's the one that I know about. A little bit weird. Original text, of course, is displayed on the screen. I will be reading the errata text, even though it hasn't had a physical release. They haven't reprinted this card since Tournament Pack 6, I believe. A pussycat fairy. Contrary to her lovely beauty, she claws on her enemies. 1100 attack, 900 defense. I think this card might have a little bit of usage, but not because it's good, just because people like this card and it happens to fit some niches. It's level 3. It's Earth Beast, so you got a little bit of synergy already coming with car alarm just went off. You got a little bit of synergy coming with Rescue Hedgehog, and I think that's cool. You could see this as, you know, one of your Garnets and one of your normal monsters that you could be using for Rescue Hedgehog. That's not bad. Burstinatrix actually had some card changing, some errata to her flavor text, going from the only woman in the E-Heroes to the first female E-Hero. Interesting. I didn't notice that. It's good to know. And that was like in the same set or in the same stream, you know. I think Nekogal number 1 is featured in a lot of card artwork. It's like a very popular card within Konami and sort of popular in the fandom. And I think it might have niche application, but not because it's a good beast, just because people like it. Next up, Burglar. Level 3, Earth attribute, Beast, a sly rat. He will come at you with his huge left claw. 850 attack, 800 defense. And this card is right next to Nekogal in terms of stat. It's got like all the same properties, a little bit different attack, a little bit different defense. But any application that you got for Nekogal number 1, you could be using Burglar instead. And Burglar has got a cooler name in my opinion. I think it's funny. I love single word names because everything in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like Interplanetary Purpley Thorny Dragon, or Demise King of Armageddon, or Exod Master of the Guard. Everything's really wordy, so when you see a short little name like Yubel, it makes me happier. Nekogal number 1 and Burglar are on one of the cattle spells. I agree with that. Along with a bunch of the other beasts. Oh, Bat is a fantastic card. I wish Bat were actually printed. Bat has some OCG exclusive combos with Rescue Hedgehog. You can run Bat and Speedroids. Jellyfish is another fun one. Yeah, there's a card that's just named Wolf. I don't know when we get Wolf in the TCG. I know it's got a TCG release, but it'll be a while, I think. I didn't even know that that burglar card existed. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of weird cards that were released only in tournament packs, so very limited TCG distribution. But in the streams, we treat every card as if it were common. You have a full play set of anything you want in these streams. Next up, Clown Zombie. So in a previous stream, I said that Pharaoh's Servant, the card with 1000 attack, level 2 zombie type monster, was the strongest normal zombie at the time that you could bring out with Spirit of the Pharaoh, and it was. But technically now Clown Zombie has power crept that card. So Dark Attribute, level 2, zombie normal, a clown revived by the powers of darkness. Its deadly dance has sent many monsters to their graves. 1350 attack, 0 defense. I think if you wanted to, you could run Plague Spreader Zombie with this card. That's a level 2 zombie. If you wanted to, you could bring it out with Rescue Hedgehog. Make a level 4 synchro. That's not that bad. I guess it gets all the way up to filler. I'm very hesitant to put normal monsters too low in the rankings, just because you never know when a normal monster is going to see fringe play because it fits all the right properties. It is very strong for a level 2 monster. I agree with that. We need a Nouvelle's card that's a retrain of Burglar called Hungry Burglar. I like that. 1350 on a level 2 ain't that bad for a little guy, I guess. Get Clown Zombie out on the field after the Law of the Normal and could do a little bit of damage. I think normal monsters just aren't there yet. 0 defense. It's got a little bit of synergy with a few different cards. Dark Attributes, so I guess you could bring it back with Recurring Nightmare. Maybe with Dark Factory of Mass Production, Recurring Nightmare. Get a little bit of recurring card advantage. I don't know. Send this to Graveyard with Advanced Ritual Art. Recycle it back to deck with Exod Master, not Exod Master, the garden with Exodios. Or power up your Exodios. I don't know. Normal monsters have a weird amount of card support where I feel like they're always good and then you try them out and they're not. And it's sad. I feel like everyone falls into the normal monster trap over and over and over again. Because there's just so much good support. And you got like Treasure Panda, Enchanted Fitting Room is just crazy. Where you can just get 4 monsters straight out of the deck for free. Well, for 800 life points, but basically for free. Next up, Acid Rain. Destroy all face-up machine-type monsters on the field. Very simple effect. So next set is Cybernetic Revolution, which means 2 things. 1, cyber cards and lots of machines are going to be entering the fray. In fact, 1 machine is going to be warping the entire metagame around it. Acid Rain, symmetric, mass destruction, but also really strong. This card's completely playable. It does get outclassed by System Down in the next set, and that's fair to say. But at the time, this card's pretty good. I think it is crazy that this happened in the game, where there's a structure deck, and then a spell card that really goes against the theme of the structure deck. So we had the machine structure deck, right? The one with the ancient gears and stuff, and we got Acid Rain against it. We got the Rock structure deck, the Invincible Fortress, and then we get Breath of Light that just destroys rocks. We got the Water structure deck, lots of fish in there, and then we got Eternal Drought. We got Eradicating Aerosol. There's a whole set of these cards that just destroy one type. Got the Warrior structure deck, the Equip card one, and then we get Warrior Elimination right after it. We get the, what is it? Last Day of Witch, right after we get the Dark Eradicator Warlock structure deck. It's just so interesting. They get a structure deck and immediately the counterplay to it. What does System Down do again? It banishes all machines on the field, I want to say. What does System Down do? Found it. System Down. Pay 1,000 life points, banish all machine monsters your opponent controls and in their graveyard. Okay, System Down is real big power creep. System Down just shuts out machines correctly. It's like Dark Hole and White Hole and Raigeki and Anti-Raigeki. I don't know if I'd go that far. I think these cards are completely playable and should have seen more play, but their distribution was really terrible, I want to say. Like, Warrior Elimination should have seen way more play. Same thing with Last Day of Witch, but it just had a limited release. Could you imagine going up against a 6 Samurai player and just pulling out Warrior Elimination against them? What are they going to do? It's like Konami was expecting every structure deck to be insanely strong. I can agree with that. It's weird. There used to be, in Forbidden Memories, I want to say, is where these cards come from. There used to be one for zombies, too. It was called Sun Shower, and just destroy all face-up zombies. Would have been pretty good coming out right after the Zombie Madness deck, but that card's never had a TCG release. But yeah. I say that Acid Rain is, we'll say, good for its time. System Down saw a lot of play. It's sad that System Down comes out so quickly after Acid Rain. Cool artwork, though. It's like Acidic Downpour looks like this card, which is really interesting. Next up, the card countered by Acid Rain, Machine King. Earth Attribute, level 6, Machine Effect. This card gains 100 attack for each machine-type monster on the field. That includes itself. 2,200 attack, 2,000 defense. So it starts out at 2,300 if you're not running into skill drain. Ideally, this can gain, 1,000 attack points if your opponent has a full board and, like, DNA surgeries on the field. This card is really similar to Woden, Resident of the Forest, which is funny. It's just not a lot of benefit for running into machines. It takes a lot of board investment for this card to even be on par with the Summoned Skull. You have to have 2 other monsters on the field, or I guess you could run into an opponent with 2 machines on the field, but are you tributing this guy out? Probably not. Card's just underwhelming. But next to Ancient Gear Beast, I guess. This guy goes crazy with Clockwork Knight /S. I guess that means sarcasm. No. I don't know if... Does Machine King even work with Clockwork Knight? I want to say Clockwork Knight is... I'm thinking Heavy Metal Raiders, which is dark machines. A whole 100? What was Konami thinking? It can almost out Blue Eyes under niche conditions. I feel like Machine King was just printed way later than it was supposed to. Like Woden, Resident of the Forest, one of the first effect monsters in the game, so it's understandable. But what's Machine King's excuse? Next up, Toon Mass Sorcerer. Dark Attribute, level 4, Spellcaster Toon effect. Cannot attack the turn it's summoned. If Toon World on the field is destroyed, destroy this card. While you control Toon World and your opponent controls no Toon monsters, this card can attack your opponent directly. If this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, draw one card. 900 attack, 1400 defense. So, I like Toon Mass Sorcerer. I think it's very fair to compare this card to Toon Gemini Elf, where Toon Gemini Elf has more attack and can start ripping cards out of your opponent's hand, which is not my style. So I actually really like Toon Mass Sorcerer. This is draw power in your Toon deck. You need draw power. You bring this out with Mystic Tomato. It's your other tomato target in addition to Toon Cannon Soldier. And I think that this card is playable. I want to put it in acceptable on archetype, but I can understand if everyone else wants to put it in bad. I'm dreaming. You got my vote, Mass Sorcerer. I'm going to try to make it work. The original Mass Sorcerer is also like this. Got the same effect. Sorcerer got a toon? I literally saw his toon years before his original. Wow. I just assumed toons were popular monsters. He's acceptable in archetype, especially for Goat. Yeah. Man, I'm going to have a lot of fun pulling out my toon deck in Goat format. I see the potential. I wish Doriato had an archetype revolving around it. Imagine it would have retrains of the element monsters. Interesting. Like Element Soldier, Element Valkyrie, Element Saurus, Element Doom, Element Magician. Come on. Element Dragon. I think there's only 6. Interesting. Oh, it does enable the element monsters. That's fair. Okay. Our last toon that's in Goat format. Toon Defense. Continuous Trap. When your opponent declares an attack targeting a face-up level 4 or lower toon monster you control, you can make the attack a direct attack instead? Why? There's a card called Absolute End that does this all the time. I guess you got the option to turn it on and off, but this is not the problem that toons have. This is not the area where toons need defense. Toons need a way of Toon World not being destroyed. If this card just protected Toon World, it'd be significantly better, but are you running in a position where your opponent is beating down your toons? Maybe. Not the way I run toons. I think the card's just bad. Possibly very bad. I really wish we had a better way of protecting Toon World, but it's not that big a deal in Goat format. You don't have that much spell and trap removal. You got Breaker the Magical Warrior at 1. You got Mystical Space Typhoon at 1. You got Heavy Storm at 1. And then if you really wanted to start playing other cards, you got Dust Tornado at 3. But at that point, you're sort of reaching. In terms of commonly played outs to Toon World, you got 3. So I think toons are pretty good. And is your opponent really using their premium spell and trap removal on toons? Maybe. Maybe not. Finally, last card in the video is Tyler the Great Warrior. So, remember how we mentioned the legendary Black Belt earlier? Well, it's important for the lore. We've come full circle to it. because Tyler, the Great Warrior, is wearing the legendary black belt. Ooh. I think he's also got Fuma shurikens around him and maybe Jewel Sword or Great Sword. This card is fan-made. And the picture that I've selected for the alternate artwork, or I guess for the tier list, is the original design, and I like that. This is what was submitted by Tyler. The context of what this card is this card was a Make-A-Wish fulfilled, I guess is what you call them. Konami worked with Tyler to make this card. To my understanding, it is completely tournament legal, but there only exists one copy of the card. I think we're going to go out on a limb and say, one, this card would be widely available in the game, so it's not a one-off. You could play 3 if you really wanted to. And 2, this card's not that bad. Earth Attribute, level 8, Warrior Effect. This monster cannot be special summoned, so it's like Ancient Gear Golem. When this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to the attack of the destroyed monster. This is not word for word the legendary black belt, but it's very similar, and I love how Tyler, the Great Warrior, it has that effect. It's great lore. 3,000 attack, 1,500 defense. I think that this card's not great, but I also think that it's not terrible. I don't know if I want to put it all the way in good on release. If I'm being honest, it's probably at the top of filler. But it's not a bad beat stick. It's better than Flame Wingman. I can agree with that. So now that we've seen all GOAT legal cards, and I'm thinking Tyler the Great Warrior is technically GOAT legal, we're going to organize a GOAT tournament, right? Maybe. But you got to bring in trash if you're coming into the GOAT tournament. I want to see Toon decks, maybe Archfiends, I think, are technically playable in GOAT. Pandemonium is just fantastic and searchable. You got 3 copies of Terraforming, you bring out Pandemonium, you get advantage rolling. What else is technically playable in Toon but not seen? I want to see a Dark Magician variant. I don't know which one is good enough. It might be a Dark Paladin Turbo deck. It might be something that's using Sage's Stone and Dark Magician Girl. What else do I want to see? I want to see a Ninja Engine. I think that'd be pretty good. Horus Turbo. Ooh, that's another good one. I honestly think that Armed Dragons are playable in GOAT format. That if you're using Super Rejuvenation, then you can really benefit from Armed Dragon's discard cost. Or you could play Metamorphosis, tribute your dragons, benefit off of Super Rejuvenation, recur cards. There's a lot of ways that you can do it, and Armed Dragons are legitimately playable, in my opinion. There's a lot of jank that you can run in GOAT. I sort of think that Toon Summon Skull and Pandemonium and maybe a few Archfiends together could be played in a deck, because then if they destroy your Toon world, then Toon Summon Skull destroys itself, which means Pandemonium would get a search off and you'd get a level 5 or lower Archfiend from your deck, and you wouldn't go so minus. I don't know. I think there's some severe jank to be discussed in that format, but I like it. Now I do want to host a GOAT tournament, but only creative or interesting deck ideas. No meta, non-meta GOAT tournament. Let's go. Maybe one day. But that is it for tonight. Next time, hopefully next Thursday, we get to move into the cybernetic revolution, and the game changes forever in such a profound way. It will never be the same. This is really the end of an era. I think it's a little sad. Next stream, Thursday, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But that's it for tonight. Hope everyone has a good night. I'm signing off.